evening, every pony and every creature. Welcome to DAG. As always, this is Dratta Arcana, and welcome to Dratta Talks. And tonight, I have very special guests joining me.
Oh, am I supposed to say something?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Tyandaga. How's it going?
How's it going? So, Christmas is coming up, isn't it?
No. We're like the furthest away from Christmas we possibly could be.
Well, I'm sure you're prepping for pulling that sled, right?
No, not anymore. I had a bit of a falling out with Santa a while back, a couple of years ago. Yeah. So I don't do that gig anymore. It's cool. We're cool with each other, but there's a little bit of beef.
So I've always admired your videos, and especially your OC, and kind of the design of your OC. And one of the videos that you made way back, it was the first video on your channel, how to make a good pony OC. And that's kind of where your channel started for the analyst community, is it not?
Yeah, no, I was really inspired when I joined the community, seeing all these different OCs and people's own creations and artistic flair. And I thought, that's pretty cool. But I also saw a lot of bad OCs. I saw a lot of people who didn't really know what they were doing or didn't really have a lot of direction and were kind of looking to, spice up their OC a bit. So I said, you know what? Okay, I know a bit about like character creation and whatnot. And, I think I could do this. I'll make some videos talking about OC creation and helping people make their own OCs so that hopefully the community will have better characters floating around. And whether that's happened or not, who knows? But people seem to like the videos. So, hey, you know what? I think that's a win.
I personally, when I was designing my OC, I knew I wanted to make it an alicorn, and I knew that was a kind of a sketchy line. And your videos actually have been insanely helpful when developing my own alicorn. Surprisingly, I haven't gotten as much flack as I was originally intending for my OC.
Well, that's it. And I think when it comes to alicorn OCs, people don't really care that much, at least not anymore. I think it's just become a thing now where, people have the characters and that's fine, right? There's no real ill will around it. And I think it's a lot more accepted than it used to be in years past. So, hey, you know what? It's 2019. It's a brand new year.
Hey, there we go. And, BronyCon was kind of the last BronyCon, and I really wanted to make it to that Analyst Anarchy panel, and I just wasn't able to get there. But
it was a good one.
I know. I saw the footage afterwards. Well, it is 2019, and with the show in its final stretch, let's take us back to kind of the earlier days of the analyst community. I know that you weren't there at the very beginnings, but I know that
I was. It's kind of funny actually that you mentioned that. I wasn't certainly there at all for the beginning, and even when I started, people were talking about how the show was ending or the show was going to end eventually. I actually made a video like, is season 5 the last season? Right. So at the time, even I was considered late to the show. I was considered late to the YouTube thing. So I certainly was not there for the beginning. And I regret that sorely because it seemed like there was a lot of fun stuff going on. But there still was a lot to do even when I joined and even to this day. But I certainly was not there for the beginning. But I can certainly give my perspective from when I began.
Yeah. And kind of tell us like how has the analyst community since you first joined, how has it evolved? Because we look at the two words, we have reviewers and analysts, and what's the difference there?
Oh, okay. Well, reviewers are more so to give their own opinions about an episode. So they see an episode, they say, hey, do I like this? Do I dislike this? And they start picking apart little bits and pieces about the episode that they liked or that they didn't like. Whereas an analyst tries to dig really deep and find hidden meaning behind things, or to try to piece together subtle clues and subtle takes in the episode. So there is a big difference between the two, but they often get blended together in this community, which is fine. There's definitely room for a mix of both. And I think anybody worth their salt is going to, if they're a reviewer, they're also going to be slightly an analyst. And if you're an analyst, you're going to have slight reviewing tendencies as well.
Okay. And I've followed Dr. Wolf, Lightning Bliss. I've especially followed you, Tyandaga. And I know, probably my biggest mistake, right?
Yeah, no, most people go blind after the third or fourth video. So if you're not blind already, I mean, this is good news.
Well,
you're cheating death here, bud.
Hey, you know what? I'm an alicorn, so I'm able to cheat death.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Fair enough. So back when you first started with your own channel, I know that, Lightning Bliss and Dr. Wolf and Mad Munchkin and all of them were doing a lot, especially Silver Quill, were doing a lot of analyst videos.
Yeah.
What was, when did you first meet them?
Well, when I began, and I'm just going to point this out, I don't remember Lightning Bliss being I think she was still starting around when I started. I think we somewhat began around the same time, but I think she had a bit of a head start on me. So I think it was a while before I actually found out about her content. And boy, howdy, is it good. And was it good at the time? Very humbling stuff, but, sorry, what was the question? I forgot.
How did you meet the analyst community?
Oh, well, there were a lot of different Skype groups. So this is, let me take you back to a dark world where we used Skype instead of Discord nowadays. And there'd be these different groups for, there was an analyst group. It was called the Rift at the time. And over the years, I've always been various groups and various get-togethers online for video makers, for artists, for, this group and that group. So when it came to actually meeting a lot of these guys, my fellow coworkers, as I call them, it was usually through these groups. Of course, every so often, depending on who they were, I maybe would message them through YouTube or give them an email or something so that we can work on a collaboration project together. But for the most part, it was almost always through Skype.
Well, Skype is still pretty much a disaster to this day, but...
Well, this is the thing. I think Skype really it's failed to sort of modernize, and this is the thing though. Discord's pretty great. I think we can both agree Discord's got pretty much everything we would ever want. The only problem with Discord, it doesn't have my Skype contacts.
Well, yeah, I guess there is that. So back in those dark days, was there ever kind of this competition between you and the other analysts to see who could make the best video, or was it all friendly competition? And
if there's any competition, it would have been self-imposed. So, let's say I make a video, right? And I notice that Lightning Bliss or someone has uploaded a video at the same time. I'm not going to say it, but in my head, I'm like, I hope my video has this many more views than her. Oh, I have, this and that, right? I think it's natural to get a little competitive, and I think we're all in this analyst community. I think we're all very inwardly competitive, where we want to be the best, we want to be better than other people, and we want to better ourselves as well. We want to be better than our former selves. So, for sure, I think there is a little bit of competition. That being said, it's not being said outwardly, though. I'm not going to I'm not going to message one of them and say, my video's doing better than yours. No, it's not like that, because usually my video isn't doing better than theirs. But still, yeah, for sure, there is a competitive aspect to it for a community that is quite close compared to others, for sure.
So here's a question for you. Even during this time, and it's 2019 with the show ending, say someone wants to break into the analyst community, how would you suggest that they get started?
Well, It's kind of a hard one, and admittedly, it's really tough to jump into creating videos for a show that is ending, right? But that being said, there are totally ways to do it, and I have to. If you just give me a moment, there was one person in particular that I have to find, and this guy kind of jumped into the scene quite late. I think it was like season 7 or season 8 where he started making videos, which for this community, that's very, very late. But his name, you might have heard of him, is DWK.
Yep.
And he does his totally legit recaps, and they are hilarious. Like, they're incredible. They're great, right? They're fun. They're interesting. They're different. You know, there's something that we haven't really seen. We've seen bits and pieces of this kind of style in other videos before, but nothing quite like this. And again, he's had tremendous success with it as far as I'm concerned. So there is totally room for people to jump in. But I think the difference is between way back when I started and now is that you now have to provide something not only high of quality, but also something a little bit different, something that people haven't really seen before. And I think a guy like DWK just shows that it can absolutely be done, and it can be done well, and you can have fun doing it.
Yeah, and I was talking with I did a podcast with Little Shy FIM a while ago, and we were talking about how a lot of smaller channels will still make pony content. Like, my channel is been moved from the gaming world into pony only, and small channels like mine really don't do all that well because it's become such a niche market. You know, the analyst community has always been kind of the pinnacle of, I think, the pinnacle of YouTubing besides the music community.
Yeah, the music community definitely is big, and I think with the music community, it's a lot more widespread. Like, it's easier to find that content if you aren't into MLP. Whereas I think with the analyst stuff, it's unless you're considering like way back in its heyday, pun intended, it was kind of difficult to find that kind of content, and you really sort of had to stumble upon it one day or hear it from a friend who was really into it. And I think nowadays we see that wholeheartedly. If you're making analyst stuff or reviewing stuff about the show, it's very hard for people who aren't a fan of yours already to find that content. And I think that's why for a lot of us who are making reviews or analysis content, that's why you're starting to see the views really start to drop.
Yeah. And, you know, what was going to back to Analyst Anarchy, kind of how did that get started? Because that's something I'm sure people would be very interested to hear.
Well, I actually, when I joined the YouTube stuff, that series, the Analyst Anarchy, that was already like a couple of months old. So I started my YouTube stuff actually after that series already began. So as far as how it exactly started, I think from what I've heard, because again, I've just heard about it. I wasn't really around to actually be there for it. But what I heard, it was a moment with Dr. Wolf episode that kind of, or like there was an idea with that, and it kind of just expanded from there. And then it kind of became its own thing. And then, it just kept continuing with all the momentum it had, which now, wow, it's turned into a full scale production pretty much.
So, by the way, congrats on winning that court case.
Oh, thank you.
Though I'm sure Jasper Pie didn't help their case at all.
No, he helped mine. I secretly bribed him with a couple of cookies on the back. That's okay.
And he's another YouTuber that I really like his content, and the prank call content. You know, it's kind of like you all have your kind of niche and reputation within the community. And I love how you guys have all these stories for your OCs and stuff, because it makes the content of the analyst community very interesting. And I know that you do a lot of art and stuff. Kind of like what's your role on some of these productions usually? Because I think I've seen your name on several of the credit lines.
Yeah, so about, I don't want to say 2 or so years ago, maybe a little less than that. I noticed through the Skype groups that these guys were looking for some editing help, or at least they were struggling to kind of get videos out and get videos made. So I said, you know what? Okay, I can edit these videos. I've seen their content, and you know what? I look at it and say I can do that. Okay, so I said, you know what? I'll ask them, and I did, and they said, sure, we'll give you a video. About 1 month later, they're like, okay, here's the video. And I edited that. That was the video that Mary Sue was introduced in. And that was like my first editing project. And since then, I've been one of the more consistent editors to the series. So as far as my role goes, I'm pretty much just the video editor. So like Bliss is the main editor. She's the one who does the majority of the the work and is kind of the lead editor, I guess we'll say. And then I'm kind of like one of the sort of just regular editors. And I've been doing that for a while, and it's been pretty good.
That reminds me of before I became a Brony and before I really started on my YouTube career. I actually started out as a actual professional freelance videographer.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've mentioned it several times on my channel. I started out wanting to go into film production, and I had done some productions for major nonprofit organizations and things like that. And honestly, this style of YouTubing that you guys do is an entirely different form of editing than what I'm actually used to.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely something that's very different and not really that common around YouTube. At least I haven't seen it too much. I wouldn't even really know what to call it. I don't even know if there's like a name for it per se. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that isn't very common around YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
Or in the world in general.
Right. And coming from a more professional background, I look at your guys' stuff and it's all very well written, very well scripted, very well edited, and so forth. And it's amazing what the YouTube community and the analyst community has been able to accomplish over these years. And I'm sure one of the questions I'm sure you guys get all the time is, what's going to happen when G4 runs out and you can't?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And I guess really it just comes down to the individual. For myself, I've already started straying away from MLP stuff, and I've been trying to do more like real world stuff and talking about things that kind of reflect more real life things. Some others have decided to review and analyze different shows or perhaps movies and stuff. So really, it kind of depends on what people want to do and really what their interests lie in. We might be waiting a long while for a next generation of the show. I think there will be a G5. I think there's just too much money involved. So I think that there will be a fifth generation, but the question is, how long will that be? Will it be, how many years will we have to wait, right? And in between then, what are we going to do? And if there is a generation 5, will we want to go back? Who knows, right? So it really does depend on the person. I don't think we all will do we'll all jump to one, next thing. I think we're all brought here by one show, but I think once this ends, I think we'll all kind of go our own ways or do our own things. Obviously still working together in some aspect or some form or another, but I think we all have our own interests outside of the show. And I think as we go forward, as the show ends, you'll start to see everybody doing their own thing that way and pursuing those unique interests.
Yeah. And you guys you've been on several panels before, especially that, so you want a YouTube panel that you run at several conventions. Do you think that you guys will continue to make appearances at conventions after G4?
Oh, I think so. I think there will be, for some of us at least. It gets kind of tough to make it out to conventions. And especially for a lot of us, we do things like vending. And for some of us, we actually do rely on earning a profit from selling merchandise and artwork and this and that. So for those of us in that regard, if pony conventions start going lower and lower as far as the attendance is concerned, it might not be viable. And even for people like me, where I don't really sell anything at conventions, I just kind of show up and do my thing. Um, it gets kind of harder and harder to justify it when less and less people start showing up. And, BronyCon was great this year because it was so crowded and, so full of people. But, you wonder, oh, is this kind of like the last big hurrah? But that being said, I'm looking towards TrotCon next year. I'm hoping to do a bunch of panels there and, see what's what, because I've never been. It's quite close to me too. So there you go. But as far as other ones and even going forward, it kind of depends. Is it a good time for me? Is it, will work or school get in the way? It really depends. It's hard to say, but I think for sure, a lot of us will continue going to the conventions as long as there are people actually attending.
Okay. Well, and I've been to TrotCon once.
Oh, how was it?
It was good. It was good. I unfortunately was only able to go Sunday. My hope next year is to try to make it. We will see. But I'm hoping to also go to TrotCon next year. It's a smaller convention, but I think that it really wants to pick up where BronyCon left off. And
a lot of them are for sure. I've seen Everfree Northwest. I was talking with them at BronyCon, went by their booth and were like, yes, this one's finally ending. And then they'll be like, well, we'll just poach the population from here and it'll be okay. And that was the same thing that every convention that was posted up there was saying the exact same thing. Like, now that this one's over, we're going to steal the rest of them. So it'll be interesting. I think TrotCon definitely will benefit. They will see a population increase, especially for next year's convention. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's going to be tough now that that's big BronyCon is kind of gone.
And as with that in mind, I'm glad to hear that the analyst community is going to continue, because honestly, most of you guys are pretty far behind on episode reviews too.
Well, yeah, and that's it for some of us who are doing every episode or trying to at least cover every episode. It's very hard. It's so difficult, and I think this is one thing that I've noticed with the community as the years have gone by. The standard for quality has risen every single year. So before, you could kind of get away with a very cheap, kind of easy to edit video, but nowadays it's like you have to have that higher quality. You have to kind of keep adding new things. And for those of us who are creating videos that are quite high in production value, I say, it gets very difficult to, especially with our work and school or whatever have you, it gets very difficult to continue making videos at that breakneck pace. And what I've noticed a lot of people doing is just saying, okay, we're skipping this season, or, oh, we'll just do an entire video that covers this entire season, or I'll only do my favorite episodes out of that season. So I think people are definitely getting a lot more choosy. They're picking and choosing, and they have to. The episodes just keep coming and coming and coming, and it's very difficult to keep up.
As an example, Silver Quill decided to jump to season 9 for his reviews, which is understandable because you guys kind of, it's kind of one of those things where sometimes the workload just gets you.
Oh yeah, no, and again, these kinds of things, we start off these videos. It's not to make money or to, earn fame or whatever. It's really just a passion project. We say, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm inspired to make this. And then you make the video and you hope it does well, or you see it, look, I liked that. Let's make another one. And you keep doing that and you keep repeating that cycle, and then eventually it can start to wear on you if you keep going at that breakneck pace of like, okay, I finished a video. Let's make a new one. I finished this one now. Let's make a new one after that. And it can be very hard to keep up. And especially if you're someone like a reviewer, like Silver Quill, I imagine it gets very, very difficult just to keep up with that breakneck pace. And you sort of have to decide, okay, how high quality can I make my videos? Because if I make it too high quality, I won't have enough time to get this episode out and catch up on the next one, and so on and so forth. So it forces you to make some pretty tough decisions as a video maker.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. And how do you guys keep up with the fans? Because you guys have so many fans that want to see you guys produce a video every week, and it's like, That's
Every
just
week.
not realistic.
I mean, I'm happy if I produce a video a month. Honestly, it really just it depends on the person. So if you're making high quality content and you're making videos that people really do enjoy, they're willing to wait. Most people are very happy to wait. And I can't think of any one moment in like the last 4 or 5 years that I've been doing these kinds of videos where I've had someone say, "Hey Ty, get cracking, get on it, make a new video." Jeez, right? I don't think anybody else really in the community has had too many situations like that. I think most people are understanding. We have lives outside of making videos. We don't do this as full-time work, at least not most of us. And I think most people understand that we produce content as quickly and as best as we can, and as long as we're all patient, we'll get those videos.
Yeah, and I've been seeing that more and more with a lot of the larger projects like Remembrance and the Analyst Anarchy stuff. When you're working on those big projects, it's anticipated that they're gonna take a while.
And they do.
I bet.
I think usually when it comes to the Analysis Anarchy, again, I'm just talking about the video editing here, and there's a lot of other stages that are involved in making the video. But just for me, I end up spending roughly around 20 to 40 hours of just pure video editing work, usually per video, and that has actually increased over the last while. So it's like, and that's just the video editing, right? There's voice recording, there's creating the video, like creating the script for it, thinking of the idea. There's art and assets. There's lots of audio editing. There's a lot of different stuff and different parts and different steps of the production. It's a lot of work, right? It's a tremendous amount of work, and I think most people see that and they understand it. So, which is good, which is great, because I certainly don't want people banging down our doors saying, "Hey, where's the next one?" They take a while to make, but they're all made with love, so that's what counts.
So here's a question about script.
Sure.
How do most of the analysts that and that you've talked to, how do you guys normally write the scripts for your reviews or episodes? Because are they like outlined or are they actually scripted?
Well, I guess it depends on the person. I think I've done a couple of reviews in a day, and when it comes to reviews, at least for me, you watch the episode again, and maybe even a third time, just to kind of really get a feel for it. And then again, really depends on the person. But for me, I'll start like going on like a Google Doc or Microsoft Word or something, just typing out like bits and pieces that I thought were interesting or that I thought that I liked, that I disliked, and then like just in bullet point form. And then I start fleshing it out. So then I say, okay, well, what did I really think about this one bullet point? Okay, well, let's start typing about that. Let's create a paragraph on that. And that's how I go about it. Some people are quite good at it, and I've seen some people in this community just like basically start off with a blank script. They watch an episode and then they just start typing, and like just the entire script kind of gets typed from start to finish. And then like after an hour, they're like, okay, done. There's the script. So again, it really depends on the individual. Collaboration projects, though, on the other hand, of course, are a bit different, and you kind of have to work together with the others, and that can create some challenges. But at the same time, that can also make things a little bit easier if people have a lot of good ideas flowing. But it really just depends on the type of video. It depends on the people involved. It really is on an individual basis.
Okay. Well, going to collabs, what's kind of the formula when two people are working on a collab?
Well, I guess it really depends. First of all, you kind of have to approach the other person about it. So let's say I had a video, and for my videos, I usually talk about some sort of topic. And if I'm picking a topic and I say, you know what, this guy over here, he knows a lot about this topic, or at least he seems to be like an expert, or he might have a differing opinion, perhaps an opposite opinion of what I would say. Okay, so what ends up happening is you usually have to message them. So, whatever way you can contact the other person, you contact them. You get on a Google Doc together, and really, again, it just depends on the video, and then you just start hashing it out. You start talking about what points you want to hit, what things you want to discuss. your thoughts and opinions, their thoughts and opinions. It's a lot of communication. You just want to work together. But yeah, again, it really depends on the individual video involved.
Okay. Well, so kind of like how we got this session set up, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you message me saying, "Hey, I got a podcast." I say, "Sure, let's do it." And here we are, right? So we've hashed out the details, and then now we're here, presenting.
Right. So we're kind of slowly running out of time here, and there were a couple other things I would like to touch on, but
Sure.
Unfortunately, we probably won't have time for that. So any thoughts on the analyst community, on things that you have personal experience with that you'd like to share?
How do you mean exactly?
Just if you have any final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, that's a great thing. I think the analysis community has been a source of, real true inspiration for me. And I'm grateful that I joined it when I did, that I had the courage to join it when I did. And, I think it'll be very interesting going forward to see how this community holds up, how this community adapts to, all the new changes. And yeah, I'm just interested to see what happens going forward.
Well, thank you, Tyandaga. That was very enlightening. This was a topic I had been very, very interested in eventually doing, but I couldn't exactly find the right way to go about it. I was like, but the analyst community is so popular and it's so hard to talk with one of them. And
well, it depends. I think, again, all depending on the person. I like to think I'm pretty easily reachable, and there are a lot of us that are. Some of us aren't, and that's just the reality. But I think most of us are quite approachable.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tyandaga. And, I'd really like to see an updated OC video personally.
Oh, maybe I should make that then. And thank you for having me here.
Well, and thank you for joining the podcast. So,
of course.
That's pretty much going to wrap it up, every pony and every creature. As always, this is Dratta Arcana, and if you're looking to contact me, there are several ways you could do so at dratta.arcana@gmail.com or Dratta Arcana Gaming on Facebook. And as always, I now have a community Discord. Link will be in the description. And as always, this is Dratta Arcana with special guest
Tyandaga.
And we'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, every pony and every creature.
Bye.